right, hello everyone. Tyler King here alongside Mark Kiszla with the Denver Gazette after the season opener, the 2025 season opener for Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. And Mark, for the first time in the Coach Prime era, Colorado is 0-1 to start the season, which is a little bit surprising. They had the TCU win a couple years ago, last year, taking care of business against North Dakota State. But tonight was arguably their toughest season opener of his tenure, and they come away with a 27-20 loss after Haynes King scampers for a 45-yard game-winning touchdown run in the final 2 minutes. Buffs, no Folsom magic this time around. We saw plenty of that the last 2 years of Shedeur Sanders, but he's no longer here, and the Buffs' Hail Mary attempt this time around comes up well short. Deion Sanders said after the game that there was a Heisman candidate quarterback on the field, and it was not the Buffs, it was Haynes King, and the Buffs defense did a lot to make that happen. Mark, we're used to seeing Heisman-caliber quarterbacks in this stadium the last 2 years with Shedeur Sanders, but now it's the other side tonight. Kind of what was your takeaway from the Buffs kind of getting run all over by big bad Georgia Tech and Haynes King?
It's almost a universal truth in 2025 that if you're in a one-score game, the better quarterback doesn't always win, but that's certainly the way to bet. And Haynes King, I don't know if he's a Heisman candidate.
He's not going to stay healthy enough to be a Heisman candidate without a place.
He's a legit RPO quarterback
that
can do damage with his legs or his arm, and more so with his legs. And the 45-yard touchdown he scored won the game.
320 yards on the ground for Georgia Tech as a whole, and he was their leading rusher with over 150, I think, 160, something like that.
Yeah, 156 yards for Haynes King rushing the football. Caden Salter. I don't want to throw a quarterback under the bus after one game, but he ain't the answer. I'll tell you what, he's a competent quarterback. He belongs on this CU roster. They did a good job to go out and get him from Liberty.
You could see why he had success there the last couple of years.
Yes. He's not a bad quarterback. He's not half bad, but you're going to have trouble in the Big 12 winning more than half your games, in my opinion.
They're all going to be really close.
If Caden Salter's your quarterback. So the way I look at it, and I'm never bashful of my opinion, Caden Salter is a placeholder to me. And he's the quarterback until Deion decides Juju Lewis is ready. And I hope he's ready soon. They play Delaware next week.
Should be a game where Juju gets some reps.
Yeah, Juju should get reps probably before the first half is over. I hope he looks good, and I hope that I told you during the game, Juju doesn't turn 18 years old until the day after the Wyoming game, which is
September 21st.
Which is the fourth regular season game. And to me, if Juju isn't the starting quarterback for CU by his 18th birthday, the Buffs are doing it wrong.
Yeah, the offense tonight certainly sputtered at times. They had an impressive game-tying touchdown drive in the fourth quarter, but that was the only scoring drive they had that was longer than I think, or the only touchdown drive they had, one of the two, that was actually 75 yards. The first one came off the great field position early in the game, and that was, I think, the turning point of the game, even though it was so early. The Buffs defense, even though I expected them to kind of get run all over, which they did, and I expected Georgia Tech to control the game on the ground, when you're gifted 3 turnovers like the Buffs were in the first 10 minutes of the game, 2 fumbles, one was a bad snap, one was a bad handoff between Haynes King and Jamal Haynes, the running back, and then one was an ill-fated pass by Haynes King, picked off by DJ McKinney. The Buffs only come away with 7 points from that, and at that point of the game, you're thinking, man, I don't think that's going to be enough. And then, sure enough, Georgia Tech gets the ground game going. At one point, I think, had over 10 minutes advantage in time possession over the Buffs. And in a game like that, it just feels like it's too difficult to overcome. Now, that's not the caliber of, or the style, or maybe even the caliber of offense they're going to face in the Big 12, but not their best sign from Robert Livingston's defense tonight, especially after how good that unit was last year. Kind of what was the most concerning aspect of it for you?
The defense did get pushed around, and Deion Sanders was not happy at all with his defense, nor should he be. You mentioned it. Georgia Tech looks like a team that's going to go bowling somewhere this year. They're a winning football team at the college level.
Top half of the ACC caliber team.
Yes, that's what they look like to me. They're a tough season opening foe. And
when they're fresh, it's tough to play them.
Yeah, and the Buffs will play worse teams for sure. And Let me underscore. Iowa State. Georgia Tech was favored to win this game.
Yeah, by 3.5, 4.5 points. Yeah.
But if you're at home and you're +3
On the turnovers.
on the turnovers, and you lose the game, that tells you the Buffs have a lot of work to do. And right now, they are not a very good football team.
Last thing, the Buffs vowed all offseason, we've been hearing about it for months now, that they were going to be a better rushing team this season. They couldn't have gotten worse because they were the bottom in the country, both by design and just kind of in execution the last 2 seasons. Tonight, I think they end up with 446 yards on the ground. All 3 guys that played, Micah Welch, DeKalen Taylor, the Incarnate Word transfer, and Simeon Price, the Coastal Carolina transfer, all had their moments. This kind of revamped CU offensive line, which only returns Jordan Seaton as the only starter on that line, looked a little bit better. Does that at all encourage you for what they could do this season with a more balanced rushing attack? Even if you expect and hope Juju to be the guy at some point, does a balanced rushing attack help this team?
They remade the offensive line around Jordan Seaton, which is a good person to remake an offensive line around.
Not a bad starting point.
And that offensive line is huge. It has to average 340, I would think.
Some big dudes.
So when dudes are that big, you should be able to run the ball. And so I think CU will run the ball competently and can be dangerous at times with the rushing attack. Should I even mention Pat Shurmur, though? He's still the offensive coordinator. And
for how long?
Yeah, I read this in the column a year ago. It felt like Shedeur was the offensive coordinator. Now Pat Shurmur is the offensive coordinator.
And you can tell.
And you can tell. And every Broncos fan out there are like, oh, good luck with that, CU.
Well, the good thing for the Buffs is they do have a former NFL play caller on staff, and Byron Leftwich. And so maybe that's a move at some point if things are not going well for Mr. Shurmur, as I'm sure all of the combo Buff Bronco fans are already kind of sick of him. But it'll be an interesting way going forward. I had the Buffs at 7-5 this season, even with a loss tonight. I thought they would lose by more than they did. And like you said, they've got Delaware next week, a game they really should win. Then they go at Houston and wrap it up here with Wyoming, like you said, in week 4 to close out the non-conference schedule before BYU comes here at the end of September for the Big 12 home opener. It should be interesting to see what this Buffs team looks like in a month, because I do think they're going to look a lot different in a month's time. Because like we said, whether it's Salter or Juju, this offense is going to gel a little bit and continue to grow. And the defense as well has got a bunch of newcomers on that as well, which obviously was on display tonight. But that'll do it from Kiz and I. You can obviously go check all of our coverage at denvergazette.com. As Mark mentioned, he wrote about the Buffs quarterback situation with Caden Salter and Julian Lewis and what he hopes and comes to fruition over the next couple weeks. And I wrote about Haynes King and his Heisman caliber performance that Deion Sanders described it tonight. That kind of, like we said, good quarterback play in a close game is usually the difference, and tonight it was on the Buffs. Falls to 0-1, like I said, for the first time in the Coach Prime era. That'll do it from us. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and stay tuned for more coverage of the Buffs coming next week as they get ready for Delaware in week 2.
Good night.